Hello YouTube. So today I'm going to document the repair I'm going to attempt on my 2006 Pontiac Solstice. It recently developed a problem in the heating and air conditioning control. The behavior is when I move the control all the way over to cold, I get the normal, nearly outside air temperature coming through the vents. Speed control works fine. Mode control will let me put the heat on the floor or on the panel. That works fine. But the moment I move the temperature control one notch off cold, it goes to full hot. Every setting in here, every click is exactly the same as full hot. In a second, I'm going to power up the system and show you the actuator that controls the temperature door. Okay, now we're in very tight quarters here under the footwell on the driver's side, and in here we find two of the actuators that control the airflow and temperature. I haven't identified this one exactly, but I have identified that one as being the temperature control. Now, I'll show you the operation of it here in 1 second. Alright, let's see how this goes here. I'm turning on the ignition so that I can operate that control. What we'll see is, as I move the control, the motor runs all the way to one extreme. And that was when I brought it one notch off of cold. Now bring it back to cold. And the motor runs back to the other extreme. Now it should have multiple stops in between those two extremes, but that's the problem that I'm attempting to fix right there. Alright, in preparation for this repair, I've lined up a couple of things. I've got a very simple little screwdriver for close quarters work, because there are 3 screws that hold this unit in place. This is one of the 3 that I've already removed. I believe the nut driver size, the head of this is I think a 5.5, possibly get on it with a 7/32 socket, but it very conveniently has the Phillips head cut out, so I'm going to be attempting to remove these using my little stubby Phillips. There's not much room to work under there. The other thing I have is my parts store provided me with a new actuator. Very affordable part, about $35 at my parts distributor. It's held on in 3 places, and this one does use all 3 tabs under the dash. I've already been under there and checked. So now I'm going to go under and remove the other 2 screws. Take the old unit out. Alright, it's tight quarters in there, but with the help of my little stubby screwdriver, I was able to get in there and remove the 3 screws holding that unit in place. With the 3 screws out of the way, I should be able to just pull that right out. And there it is. And you can see it looks exactly like my replacement, thank goodness. Now the shaft on the end right there is designed with a flat spot, and it can only go in one way, which is good news. We want to make sure we get that in there in the same orientation it was originally. So now I'm going to disconnect the wire here on the back side and reconnect it to the new unit. Okay, here's a situation where these kind of videos come in very handy. I ran into a problem getting the connector reconnected, this being the old unit here and this being the new unit. It has the same pins and the same correct orientation, but they are all bent towards the edge, whereas they were nicely spaced in a straight line on the old one. Quality control on this unit not quite as good as it could have been. So I'm going to have to get in here and move these pins down to where they will line up with the connector when I put it in there. So I'm going to line them all up in a straight line here, get my screwdriver out, straighten that out. Alright, I used my screwdriver here. I pulled the bit out of my handy dandy screwdriver and realigned those pins, gave them a little straightening, got them moved closer to center so it is more like the original alignment. And now we're going to go in and see if we can get it to connect to the wiring harness this time. That little bit of work to straighten out those pins was all it took. The connector went straight on. The first time I tried, I thought it would line up after pushing on it a little bit, and tried several times. It didn't engage, and that's when I discovered they were all just out of place and crooked. It connected up just fine. Now, let's do a quick little test and see if we get better control this time. There it is, homing itself. And that is in the full cold position. Now I'm going to move it one notch. And it moved a little bit. Moved it a little bit more. Each notch, you see it's bouncing because the motor runs and moves it just a little bit each time. And you can hear it. Yep, each click is moving it a little bit. Now there is a calibration step to calibrate your control head here, and I will walk you through that as soon as I get everything put back together. Alright, here we sit, and the instructions to recalibrate your heating and ventilation controls in most of the GMs apparently is, I've seen on YouTube where they say pull out a fuse to reset the system, but this is a shortcut you can use. Start with the key, turn it to the on position, but don't start the engine. Now, we turn the heat control, the temperature dial, all the way to the right. We also turn the fan all the way to the right. That brings the fan on full. And we turn the mode control all the way to the left. And then press down the air conditioning and the defrosting controls at the same time and hold them until the LEDs flash. Once the LEDs start flashing, it's going through its calibration process. I can hear the air going from vent to vent, but of course I can't tell any difference in the temperature. The engine's not running and there's no heat running through the system right now. But I can tell that it is running through all the possible modes of the air on the dash and the air on the defrost and the air on the floor. And it has finished. It's still putting the motors back to home positions, but at that point the process is finished. And I know the mode control still works. Air on the floor, air on the defrost. And the temperature control. We verified that it was making all the steps as soon as I plugged in the new motor. So that's it. Now I should have control again. Be able to make myself comfortable whether it's hot or cold. Thanks for watching. Yeah. In the interest of trying to be complete, I did skip entirely the step of removing this panel right here that is located up under the dash. There's 3 buttons that hold it in place up under here. They pull right out. I expect they're going to go right back in. They're all right here along the front edge. Just right up there. And then it'll be as good as new.